Now, if you're struggling hitting 3-wood off the tee, I'm gonna make it really easy for you. If you know a couple basic things, then you're gonna hit your 3-wood. It's gonna be your favorite club. Definitely the easiest club to hit off the tee, in my opinion, is the 3-wood. Now, there's one thing that almost every single player does dead wrong when they're hitting the 3-wood off the tee. They tee it up way too high. So I see a lot of times players will have this ball teed up where it's above the crown of the driver like that, almost like the club, almost like you would a driver. And on a driver, you hit up on it a little bit. Now with the 3-wood, part of the consistency is coming from hitting down on it. I can be a little bit more consistent if I hit down. So I'm gonna tee it up pretty low, and I like to take even just a hair of a divot, or at least just brush the grass, even when I'm hitting it off the tee like this. So I've got it teed up pretty low here. One thing that helps with is when I'm making contact on the face, I want the contact to be higher on the face to get that ball to launch high with low spin so it goes a long way. If I hit it a little thin, 3-wood really just doesn't go very far. So if you want it to be consistent with your 3-wood and you want it to get pretty good distance, nobody wants to give up 60, 70 yards off the tee by hitting a 3-wood. You want it to go pretty far, you've got to hit it on the top half of the face. So tee it fairly low. I'm gonna hit down on it, take a very, very slight divot, or at least brush the ground. So I'm gonna have it a little farther back in my stance than I would with a driver. And I'm gonna try to hit it on the top half of the face. That way I get this high knuckler of a 3-wood shot. There we go, really nice. I hit that high on the face. I just brushed the turf there. I don't mind even taking a little bit more than that and actually taking a slight divot when I'm hitting this shot. But that one went a long way there. I hit that one about as good as I can hit a golf ball. Now, the second part of this, and a lot of times what I see people do when they hit anything off the tee, is they get way too level. They start to stand up out of it. They throw their arms at the ball. It's a real pain in the butt. Now, there's a great way of thinking about this. You imagine my shoulders are at an angle here. Now, you may have never realized this before, but any throwing action, when you release, your arm is an extension, roughly an extension of your shoulders. And I've actually studied in high speed a lot of baseball pitchers. I've done a lot of tennis work, and it's the same for every single throwing action. Golf is a throwing action. I'm throwing this golf club at the golf ball, but my hand, my arm, is an extension of my shoulders whenever I'm throwing, whenever I release it. Could be here, could be there, but it's pretty much in a straight line. So when you're throwing a baseball, you say, well, Clay, that's a sidearm pitch. What about people who are throwing overhead? Well, an overhead baseball pitch is just this. When they release it, their shoulders are tilted. Their arm is above their head, but it's because their shoulders are tilted. If you leveled out the shoulders, it would be here. Tennis is the same way. You do your tennis serve, the shoulders get tilted down, you throw the racket up toward the tennis ball like this. Golf is the exact same thing, except for instead of throwing up, you're throwing down. So you imagine in the golf swing, I'm gonna take my right arm, I'm gonna tilt my shoulders, and I'm feeling like I'm throwing this golf club at the golf ball. So at the point of release, which would actually be a little past the golf ball, about 45 degrees in front, at the point of release, I'd wanna see it like this. I'd wanna see my shoulders and my right arm be releasing at that point out in front, just like that. This golf ball is just getting in the way. So if you feel like you stand up and throw, now all of a sudden my arms are doing something totally different than my shoulders. I'm not at the same angle, so I'm losing tons of speed. And then also I release it too early. Well, if I think of that release point out there and I tilt my shoulders, now all of a sudden that's that great position you see. That right arm still slightly bent at contact. Really good slight shaft lean, hitting down in this golf ball, and then everything releases there. That's my throw with the golf swing. So whether you're playing baseball, you're doing tennis, you're doing golf, it doesn't make any difference. It's all the same thing. I just have to throw to release that out in front. So with that visual, let's go ahead and hit another one. Ball a little back, not afraid to hit a divot here at all, and I'm gonna throw this club out in front. There we go, that one was absolutely smoked there. That was a really good tee shot for a 3-wood because that took off fairly low. Again, I smacked up some turf. I took a divot here. You can see my divot started right there at the beginning where that tee's at, and I took a nice little chunk out of the ground, and that allowed it to hit high on the face, and that thing, again, went an absolute mile. That was a long tee shot there. Now, I actually have a name for this. I call it the straight line release. And this means that the very first time my club splits my forearms, so you imagine my arms and my shoulders make a triangle, my club is lagging behind this. At impact, my club is still lagging behind. The first time my club is going to split my forearms here is when that club is 45 degrees out in front like that. If I'm standing up, losing my shoulder angle, throwing it, my club's splitting my forearms way too early. Now, that's one of the 5 real fundamentals of great golf. If you don't have that straight line release, it's going to be pretty daggone hard to be consistent or to get the club head speed and the distance, the driving distance, the 3-wood distance that you want to have. I have a great video that's going to show you how to get that straight line release. I'm going to build on what we talked about here today, and once you solidify that concept, like I said, golf's just going to get a whole heck of a lot easier. I'll play a preview of that video here in a second. All you're going to want to do is just go ahead and click on one of the cards that pops up on your screen here. If you don't see that card, don't worry. Go ahead and go down to the description below and click the link in there, and you'll get instant access to it. I'll talk about one of the real big secrets to getting that stand up and throw out of the swing and start releasing it out in front with a straight line release. Let's go and get started right now. Common misconception I see is that we want to create lag and we just want to hold that lag all the way on through contact and get as much lag as we can coming through contact, and that's simply not true. In the release section, we're going to talk about how to turn that lag into energy, how to turn that into speed so that you can hit it very far and do it, like we mentioned, without hardly any effort at all. And as we're coming through contact, we're going to fully release this angle as we're about 45 past contact. So if I draw, a 45-degree angle, I should be looking at both arms, nice and straight, the club splitting those arms, so that by releasing the club, by getting this angle to release as we're coming through contact, that's what's going to create the speed. Our hands are moving a very short distance, our club is moving a very long distance through contact, and it creates that whip-like effect. Very different swings hitting the exact same position. So first let's take a look at Dustin Johnson releasing the club 45 past. And the reason we're going to see such different swings producing similar positions is that this is the real physics of how this has to happen. Here we're looking at Sergio Garcia. Again, we're going to see tons of